So over to the Netherlands, a place we traveled to last year and absolutely loved. It was beautiful and the people were lovely, but they are suffering from this I view it as a problem. This is my own bias. They are suffering from the same problem as our friends in what Michael Knowles calls our evil top hat, Canada, are suffering from, which is just, I mean, like suicide numbers that we haven't seen before by people who are engaging the medical community and the blessing of the medical community, their help and their blessing to make it happen. And it's getting blessed for cases that are really not that extreme in my view. So you went over there and you met with a young woman, this 28-year-old named Zoraya. Tell us what you found.
Thanks, Megyn. We communicated over the phone for nearly a month. And so all of the reporting was done here where I'm based in Canada. So let me tell you about Zoraya Terbeek. She is 28 years old and she lives in the Netherlands. She lives with her boyfriend, her longtime partner of 10 years. He's 40 years old. They met when she was 18, working at a place where she was stocking shelves, and he worked at a nearby restaurant. He now works in IT as a programmer. And I found her story to be extremely interesting because it's not that she wants to be euthanized under the Netherlands assisted dying regime. It's because of how young she is. When we think of euthanasia or assisted dying in the US, where it's legal in 10 states, or here in Canada, where I'm based, we generally think of people who are old and terminally ill. They have no hope of survival beyond a few weeks or months. And that's clearly not the case with Zoraya.
No, it's not the case at all. And historically, the people who have done this in the places where it's been legalized have been near death, have received a terminal diagnosis, like Oregon, for example, was the first state to do this, I think anywhere, but certainly within the United States back in 1994, I think it was. And they said you have to be within 6 months of dying per a physician's diagnosis. So if you have a terminal diagnosis and you're facing 6 months of hell, that's one thing. But this is, she does not suffer from a fatal disease, right, at all. And she has not been given a terminal diagnosis.
No, so I'll tell you what she suffers from. She suffers from depression and anxiety. She has autism. She says that she has agoraphobia, which is an anxiety triggered by a fear of being in a public space. The fact of the matter is she just doesn't want to go on living, even though she's not terminally ill. By her own say-so, by the way, she could live a really long life if she chose to, but she just doesn't want to. And I should also point that she's been feeling this way for many years. She's been featured in the Dutch media quite extensively over the years. Death has essentially been part of her identity for a very, very long time. Keep in mind that she's only 28 years old. She prominently wears a do not resuscitate tag on her neck, which she's had on for years. In 2020, as she tells me, that's when she finished her last treatment of electroconvulsive therapy, more commonly referred to as shock therapy. And at that point, she recalls her doctor telling her, look, we've tried everything possible here, and there's nothing really more we can do in terms of treatment options for you. This is essentially going to be your life, where you're on this course of medications and shock therapy and so on. And that's when she said that she decided that she was going to apply for euthanasia, because for her, it was going to be very clear that if there was no better alternative for her going forward, and if this is the life that she was looking forward to, she just didn't want to continue living this way anymore. So according to Dutch law, for example, if mental illness is the reason to die, 3 doctors have to sign off. So far, 2 already have. Zoraya told me the third is basically a formality at this point. Her date for her death has been set for a day in early May. And she fully expects, she's very confident that she's going to die that day. She's had a custom-made coffin made, which is white on the outside and black on the inside. She spent most of March saying goodbye to her friends by sending them a support box, which was black with a rainbow ribbon tied around it. And it contained things that her friends could remember her by. The coffin is where she will lie briefly before she's cremated. And she's picked the urn for her ashes, which she says will be her new home.
You write in the Free Press that she told you that story about the urn and then included an urn emoji in the text. That was such a great detail to include because it's just kind of shocking. An emoji is something you picture, it seems lighthearted and fun. And who would be tweeting or sending an emoji of an urn, which is the receptacle for one's body, one's ashes after death, and she's not even 30 yet. Does she have a lighthearted attitude about it?
She does. So let me tell you a bit about her, as a person. I got to know her a little bit in the course of many conversations I've had with her. She's incredibly intelligent. She has a sense of humor, which is dark at times, given what she's dealing with. And given what she's confronting. But she's a very smart young woman. She comes across as being incredibly mature. I don't, a lot of reactions to her have been that have made the assumption that she's an extremely lonely person, but I never got that impression. She's in love with her boyfriend. They've been together for 10 years. They live together. She has a large circle of friends. What's extraordinary about this is, everybody respects her wish to die, and think this is if she's come to this decision that they must respect it.
So the audience knows the Netherlands and Canada are the two countries that allow you to do this and to get the medical establishment to help you for a mere mental disorder. And I say mere, understanding how powerful mental illness can be, but again, contrasting it against end-of-life diagnoses that people have typically required before we would allow any medical intervention. And just to contrast, like in Oregon, I actually pulled some stats here. Okay, so in Oregon, they said it has to be self-administered assisted dying. Now, there's a difference from place to place about whether the physician will give you the medication and then you give yourself the medication when you decide it's time, or whether the doctor will be there with you, because sometimes things do go wrong. People choke on the medication or something happens, and many would like the help of a doctor to make sure it goes smoothly. So in Oregon, it does have to be self-administered. You have to be over 18. You have to have decision-making capacity, and you have to be terminally ill with a disease that's likely to cause your death within the next 6 months. And it seems like the opposite of that is the Netherlands and Canada. Where in the Netherlands, okay, first of all, mental illness will qualify you. You could get physician medical assistance, my understanding is, in dying. Has to be a well-considered and independent decision, and a doctor has to attest to it as well, as that the person is suffering unbearably. So that would include a medical condition or a psychiatric diagnosis. And then there's Canada. FYI, Canada, assisted dying allows both practitioner administration and patient self-administration. So you can do anything you want in Canada. Very broad, broadest on earth. This is citing here from some experts who went on a BBC podcast I listened to called The Briefing Room, dated 12/14/2023. So you can have either in Canada, assisted dying or practitioner administration. Very broad, arguably the broadest on earth. No time requirement, no 6 months to death, nothing like that. It just has to be a, quote, grievous and irremediable condition, which is very broadly defined. So it can be physical, it can be mental. In any event, that's what's out there. And there are other states in the United States, there's some 11 states in the United States that allow something closer to what we have in Oregon. But you're speaking to somebody from one of the most extreme jurisdictions. The Netherlands and Canada are the most extreme in permissive or in it, allowing this and allowing physicians to participate. In the Netherlands, is she expecting that a doctor will help her on the day of, or that she will self-administer?
No, a doctor will come to her house, and she expects that it's going to be she's going to be attached to an IV. That's how she's going to die. First, there's something that will induce a coma. She goes into deep coma. And while she's in that deep coma, there's another substance that's going to be administered to her, which will stop her heart. And that's when she will die.
With cyber attacks on the rise, protecting your data security is more important than ever. So why is Congress considering a bill that could put your credit card data at greater risk of being hacked and exposed to foreign networks? Our advertiser, the Electronic Payments Coalition, says the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill shifts billions in consumer spending to less secure payment networks, also that corporate megastores can make bigger profits. Find out more about the issue at electronicpaymentscoalition.org and decide for yourself if you would like to tell your senators to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.